My name is Dave, and this is episode 1213B, and today's date is February 24th, 2017, and the title of the episode is The Battle Heats Up, the Deep State is Ready to Go All the Way. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the corporate media is out there, and they're pushing these poll numbers that people want Obamacare. They love Obamacare. And MSM is out there, and they're all out there saying that these are the new poll numbers, and this is why it can't be repealed. And the poll is coming from Pew Research Center. And it concludes that support for Obamacare has surged to new record highs in recent months. Well, this is kind of strange because other polls show something completely different. And then we look closely at the poll results. And what do we see? Well, they oversampled again. They surveyed Republicans, about 581, and then they surveyed Democrats, about 797. So they weighted it a little bit towards the Democrats, and this is how they got their poll results. And we can see at this point from Project Veritas with CNN, well, CNN also doctored their poll results. And we see they've been doing this quite often, but they don't tell you this. They just give you the information. And what we're seeing right now is there's a battle going on between the administration and the deep state. And the corporate media is part of the deep state, which we all knew for a very long time. What we're seeing at this point is that they're both are battling on who is going to be the winner of information. And we can see that the deep state right now is going all out. Censoring, demonetizing, getting rid of revenue. They're pulling all the tricks, anything they can possibly do to make sure that people don't see any other information. They don't want people to see anything. That's how they created the corporate media, by omitting. Well, if you don't see it, we're not lying. And if you don't see it, it's just not happening. Well, that's not true. And everyone who listens to the alternative media, you need to support the alternative media. And I don't mean by paying, donations and giving money. We need to all stick together and tell the truth. Give the facts. Because the truth can just stand on its own. You don't have to back it up. You don't have to do anything as long as it's the truth and you have facts. Because they can spew all the lies, but the truth and the facts will just stand out and you can't really hit it down. And people who are listening, people who like the alternative media, like what they're hearing, well, if you see comments on either YouTube or on websites and you hear people speaking about, the corporate media, you need to back what you're going to say to them with facts and show that, no, you're wrong. Here is a fact. And that will push the corporate media back, the trolls back, because they can't respond to facts. They have a problem with it. If you notice, most of the time they're very emotional. And what happens is the corporate media, they don't like leaving their comment section open. They usually close it because they don't want people talking about it. The alternative media, they leave the comment section wide open. Say whatever you want. Trolls, people who want to speak, it doesn't matter because you have the freedom to talk and speak. But what we see happening right now within the White House, within the corporate media, we see that they're butting heads. We have leakers inside the White House leaking things to the corporate media. The corporate media is running with it. Most of the time it's completely wrong. They're taking drafts and things that aren't even happening. They're not even signed. So it's not even real news. But they're going with it. And we can see that Trump was out there and he was saying that he wants the FBI to stop the national security leakers. Now, the FBI says they just don't have the ability to do it. They can't find out who the leakers are. They can't do anything, which is kind of strange because I don't know, when we have a cyber attack from North Korea, they know the next day. When we have 9/11, they knew exactly who did it. Like that day. When there's a false flag, they know exactly who the people are. But they can't find the leakers. That's how you know the other stuff is fake. That means they'd have to do an investigation. Now, it's either the FBI is in on everything, which is most likely true, and they don't want to find the leakers because they're part of the deep state system. And I know there's good guys and there's bad guys within the framework, and there's a battle going on between both of them. And the deep state right now is going all out on their plans. They need to shut down the administration. Now, we can see at this point that things are getting really heated right now. And we can see that Democrats, Republicans, it's all part of the same exact system. We see out in Arizona right now, the Republicans in Arizona Senate, if they get their way, police in that state could soon have the power to seize assets and property from protesters. And this is coming out of the Arizona Capitol Times. What they're saying is that they're claiming people are being paid to riot. Well, we know this for a fact because we've reported on this and we've seen this. Republican state senators voted Wednesday to give police new power to arrest anyone who is involved in a peaceful demonstration that may turn bad, even before anything actually happens. Well, first of all, we have the First Amendment, freedom of speech. You can protest peacefully, and the government cannot touch you. So, right off the bat, unconstitutional. SB 1142 expands the state racketeering law, now aimed at organized crime, to also include rioting. And it redefines what constitutes rioting to include actions that result in damage to the property of others. But the real heart of the legislation is what Democrats say is the guilt by association, and giving the government the right to criminally prosecute and seize the assets of everyone who planned a protest and everyone who participated. By including rioting in racketeering laws, it is actually permitted police to arrest those who are planning events. Planning events, meaning cops will have the authority to investigate activists before the demonstrations even take place, which again is a violation of the First, the Fourth, all the amendments, because you're allowed to protest peacefully. Now, if there are riots that break out and they destroy property, well, these people can be arrested and they should have to pay for what they did. But what they're trying to do is absolutely ridiculous at this point. But we can see that both sides are coming up with a lot of crazy things and pushing very hard to get their agenda. And we have to remember, Republican, Democrats, it's all part of the same system, because they're all pretty much paid off by corporations, by central banks, by special interest groups. And that's why I've been saying for a very long time, we need to completely clean out pretty much almost everyone inside of government. Yes, there are a few people that are good, but there's a lot in there that aren't. And it looks like we're approaching that time where we really need to clean out what is in there, because they are not working for the people. We need a government. We need representation to work for the people only. You don't need all these laws. You don't need to do all these things. You need to work for the people. We already have the Constitution. We have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of laws that no one even knows about. They just keep passing them. We don't need all of it. Just follow what we have. But nobody wants to. That's the problem. Now, we see a lot of these town hall protests going on across the country. And Jason Chaffetz, well, he was commenting on this, that these are organized protests, that these people are paid. And the Free Beacon reports that the group founded by former Hillary Clinton campaign staffer is behind the Town Hall Project. and its parent company is located at the same address as an organization funded by billionaire George Soros. Now, as a reminder, 2 weeks ago, we observed that, according to Chaffetz, town hall protesters are far from spontaneous, organic events, and were in fact carefully orchestrated events which saw protesters bust in from afar. It is now clear that Trump is correct, and this so-called town hall project is organized, centralized, not organic. Jimmy Damon, a former field organizer for the Clinton campaign in Iowa, founded the Town Hall Project. Damon claimed on CNN that the town hall events are all organic and happening at the grassroots level. Now, his group is closely involved with MoveOn.org, a major progressive activist group that recently launched a website called ResistanceRecess.com to encourage activists to attend town hall events. The town hall's project parent company is the Action Network, which was involved in demonstrations against Walmart and Ferguson. The Action Network is located at the same Washington, D.C. address as United We Dream, the largest immigrant youth-led organization in the nation. United We Dream has received funding from billionaire George Soros. It began organizing sanctuary campuses, anti-Trump protests shortly after the election. The Action Network also shares the same address as Change to Win, the labor organizing group. And it looks like all of these things are connected. Now, of course, George Soros is out there and he's denying that I don't have anything to do with any of this stuff. Well, of course he's saying that. But you can see from his money, from where it is going, and these addresses, that it's pretty much the same address for all these organizations. It's all part of the same system. Because all of this has been done and created to push their agenda from the very beginning. Now, the White House, and this is coming out of the corporate media, decided to bar CNN, New York Times, and others from its media briefing. I think this is a very bad move. I think they should never ban the press from coming in and doing their job, even if they're telling lies. I'm going to tell you why. Because, first of all, the First Amendment says freedom of the press. Even if they're spewing out fake news, what the administration needs to do, if they're true, if they're really doing what Trump says he's doing, stick to the truth, stick to the facts. That is it. Let the corporate media tell their lies, because the people will realize that they are lying. I know people say, no, that's impossible, that it's not going to happen. It happened in the past, in history. All you got to do is keep pushing facts out there. Think about this for a second. When Trump was running for election and the corporate media was out there spewing the lies with the poll results, saying that Trump was behind, the Clintons going to win, Trump never has a chance, those were all lies, things they were making up. The polls weren't even real. The alternative media was saying, well, this doesn't make sense. The polls that we've been taking online are completely different. What people are saying are completely different. People realized what was true, what was fake. Trump right now needs to forget about all of these media outlets. Do the job and work for the people. And if you're not going to do that, we don't need you there. We need someone there that's going to work for the people. I know he's done a lot by signing a lot of his executive orders, but a lot of stuff is not going to be done because he has to deal with Congress. And spending time with fake news and all this other stuff is not going to work out in the long run. And we don't want to stoop, the alternative media does not want to stoop to the level of censoring, banning, or anything like that. The administration doesn't want to stoop to the level of censoring, banning. That's the deep state. They like to censor and ban, just like they did with natural news. By the way, Natural News, they have a petition out right now on the White House site where they're petitioning what Google has done right now with their censorship by removing the entire site. Again, I'll go back to Trump's speech where we need to shine. We need to be a better example. Stick with the truth. Stick with the facts. We see that out in Sweden, when they are having all these riots and things like that, we see that the deep state is continually censoring individuals. Now, at the Huffington Post, there was a journalist. He's a Norwegian journalist, a world traveler, Rene Zergafos, and he decided to write an article suggesting that Donald Trump was telling the truth about Sweden's ongoing nightmare related to the violent tidal wave of the refugees that are in the country. Well, hours after the publication, the article was gone. His access was denied. And he's been writing for the Huffington Post for quite a while. And just because he deviated from their narrative, the Huffington Post decided, well, we can't have this, and we need to censor you. So we can see right now the deep state, well, they're censoring everything. I mean, they're really going out there and they're pushing their agenda, and they're pushing it hard. And we're going to see a lot more censoring as we move throughout this year. Remember, this year, things are going to accelerate and get worse as we move throughout this year. And what's very interesting about all of this is that as Trump was elected and he was considered an outsider, not really part of Republican, not really part of Democrat, many people thought, well, he's going to fix the economy, it's going to be all better, and the truth is going to come out, and look what has happened since. Actually, things are getting worse before they get better, and we can see that the deep state now is going overboard in their agenda. And we can see that at this point, the economy is going to come down. I mean, there's flashing indicators all over the place saying that we're heading towards this incredible collapse of the system. They're trying to push war in different regions of the world, just like before. So when we really look at it, nothing has really changed. They're still pushing their agenda. Now, out in North Korea, we see that the chemical that was used in the killing of Kim Jong-un's brother, half-brother, has been identified as the VX nerve agent. Now, VX is one of the deadliest chemical weapons that can be used in a liquid, cream, or aerosol form, depending on the dosage, whether it was inhaled or applied to the skin. It can kill as quickly as 15 minutes or over several hours. The chemical has been featured in several popular TV movies, going back to 1996, the film The Rock, and that starred Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. Well, they used it. It was in a glass jar. But we can see at this point that this was used on this individual to kill him. And since that happened, we see that the corporate media is out there saying that North Korea is now isolated, that North Korea should be brought up on war crimes, and they're pushing the agenda. All this was done because Trump wanted to speak to the North Korean leader. And you can see, since he made that announcement, we see that they came down hard on North Korea to stop this. They don't want that to happen because they want war. We see Trump is seeking more nukes. Well, I don't believe we need more nuclear weapons. I think we need to get rid of nuclear weapons. We need to go back to the time where Russia and the U.S. both agreed on the disarmament treaty, where they're going to disable the nuclear weapons, dispose of them. But we can see right now this is not happening. And the only group that benefits from all of this are those groups, those corporations that deal in war. They are the ones that benefit from all of this. We see Iraq carries out airstrikes against the Islamic State in Syria. This is the first time they actually flew into Syria. Now again, Syria did not invite them to come into their country. did invite them to bomb inside their country. And it looks like the U.S. was giving intel to Iraq to go after the Islamic State. Now, do we know for sure this is what they're going after? Not really. We see Turkey and the rebel allies. They've claimed control of Syria's Al-Bab right now. And we see that Russia is still out there with the Syrian armed forces battling the Islamic State and actually bombing them. United States, Turkey, well, we don't know exactly what they're really doing, but we've seen from the past that they were never hitting the Islamic State. They were hitting the infrastructure, they were helping the Islamic State, but we can see that the Islamic State is on the run, so at this point in time, they might be doing a mop-up operation where they need to really clean up and get rid of the Islamic State. Now, Russia went to the Western countries and said, listen, you should pay for all the damage inside of Syria because you've been bombing in this country for many years. You've been hit a lot of the infrastructure, caused a lot of damage, and the Western countries turned around and said, well, actually, most of the damage was caused by you, so you should pay for everything that's going on there. And they brought up Aleppo and other areas, and the Russians said, well, we weren't hitting the infrastructure, we're hitting the Islamic State. You actually hit the infrastructure. So we can see what's happening here right now. Now, there was a study that was done, and the study says, and this is from the International Center of the Study of Radicalization, where it says the profits of the Islamic State, they have plunged by 55%. Well, they don't have the oil convoy, they don't have the taxes they were collecting, and the fines. And we can see right now that their money is running out at this point. So it looks like the Islamic State is completely dead. But what's very interesting about this report, it says that unless the Islamic State can come up with a new stream of income, they're done for. And they said one stream of income could be the opium market. Well, isn't that what the CIA uses in Afghanistan to fund their covert operations? It's very interesting how they brought that part up. We see Saudi Arabia is out there, and they're claiming that Assad created the Islamic State. Well, we know for a fact that Saudi Arabia, the United States, the coalition forces, they created the Islamic State. They funded them, they supported them, they used them to go after Assad. But what they're doing right now is they're turning the whole story around, trying to make it seem like Assad created them, Assad unleashed them in his own country. I mean, all of this doesn't even make sense, but they're trying to spin this and make it seem like Assad was the problem. And then they tried this story once before, but it looks like they're bringing it up once again. And what we're seeing right now is that they're trying to bring troops into this area. Their agenda is still the same, to get rid of Assad. So the deep state goal has not changed. Everything is the same. And they're pushing it harder and harder. And they're not going to give up until they get their way. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.